Hey everybody. So it's Steve, Short Shift Garage. You probably never seen my face before. Maybe you did. If you looked at the webpage or the YouTube channel, my picture's there. So don't know if I look like I do in the picture or not, but who cares? Anyway, I'm going to thank all the people that have been spewing out good info. Some of you guys have been tuning for a long time, so it's really nice to hear you finally falling in line and figuring things out. I don't know if you've been watching my videos, but the comments you're making now are pretty much word for word what I've been saying all along. And it's nice to hear it because it means you're waking up. So there's a lot of tuners that are book tuners. They learned out of a book. They were taught by somebody else. It's the only way they know how to tune. And now they're finally getting to a new level, and they're actually figuring things out. And I think some of them have finally realized that there's something called algorithmic logic. And algorithmic logic is one of the reasons that, especially when you get into the late model, especially 5.7s, 6.4s, 6.2s, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's the late model stuff. The algorithmic logic is it's what the PCM tries to figure out based on all the data points it's getting. And so let's discuss data points. What data points does it get? Well, anything that's connected directly to the PCM is a data point. So your crank sensor, your cam sensor, your throttle position sensor, your temp sensors, your oil temp sensor, your pressure, oil pressure, all those things are directly connected to the PCM. So it processes that data almost instantly. Now, even at the lowest data rate, for logging data on the CAN bus, the broadcast channels are only coming out every 10 milliseconds. And that's not all of them. Some of them come out at 10 milliseconds. Some are at 20, and some of them are even higher. Some of them are at 50 milliseconds. That's on the broadcast side. And those are the things that we're not querying for. We're not asking for that information. That's just given out so that it is for diagnostic purposes. Okay, so Solana says, hey, you know what? This is often enough for a guy to troubleshoot a problem with this car. And that's what the ODB2 port is all about. Nobody expected people to go in there and be modifying the actual calibration using the ODB2 port. It just wasn't ever thought of. It's still not thought of. It's still not, and they're not going to change that. It's just the way it is. So you have to understand that the data that you get from the OBD2 port, whether you have the security bypass or however you're doing it, is not current data. Everything that's coming out of there is pretty much, well, you could call it secondhand or diagnostic data, okay? You should be able to see a problem, but when you're going in and you're doing table corrections and things like that, it's not as close as it should be. I heard one gentleman today on a video, and it kind of tickled me. He was talking about the Ford Mustangs. He goes, yeah, you know, Ford Mustangs, they're pretty smart. They'll actually give you timing even though you don't ask for it. If it looks at everything on your system and says, hey, you know what, you could use some more time and I'm going to give it to you. Well, obviously this gentleman's never looked at the MBT table in a Dodge, because that's exactly what it's for. And that's exactly what it does. So it comes out there and analyzes all the data and says, hey, you know what, I can give you a little more timing, so I'm going to give it to you. Here's your ceiling. Don't go above this because you'll break it. But and it's just basically telling the PCM that. It says, hey, don't go above this amount because you'll break it, but I'm going to give you this much. So that mystery timing when the tables don't line up, that's because the MBT is doing what it's doing. So Dodge has been doing it all along, and I guess he just figured out Ford's doing it. And hey, I give him credit for figuring it out. But the algorithmic logic is a bunch of if-then-else statements. Is saying if this happens, then do this. If you do that, and this changes, then do this, and if you do that, yeah, and it goes on and on and on. It's an algorithm. It's a bunch of if, then, and, or, else statements, and there's a ton of other stuff. But if you look at it and you think about, hey, if the air temperature is this, then I want you to give me this much timing, give me this much fuel, give me this much, this and that and everything else. If for something, if when you do that, it doesn't actually work right, correct it by giving me this and giving me that and giving me this. So as you can see, it goes on and on and on into infinitum. But eventually it makes a decision and your motor runs. Okay, so the engine runs because it's done the most logical decision it can make. So when we start tuning, especially like I said, the later model cars, the 09s to the 2014s, you had a little latitude in those. You could actually make some changes, and you could get away with more. 2015 to 2017, yeah, it still had some room in it, but definitely not as much as the earlier. And then when 2018 came along and they added the security gateway, there was one revision. There was actually 3 revisions of the 2018 software. The final revision, and then there was one more that came in, and it was CAFE related, and that's the 22s and 23s. CAFE, what is CAFE? Well, it's roughly saying it's the fleet economy expectations. Okay, so fortunately, the current administration, and I'm not going to get political here, but the current administration says, hey, I'm just going to defund you because you're stupid. Cars can't meet this, and there's no way you should expect me to do it. We're just going to get along just fine without you. So they basically defunded it. It's still there, and an executive order can turn it around and put it back and refund it. But the way we spend money, I don't think they're going to spend money on that. We'll see what happens. But anyway, in 22, EPA was tasked with clamping down, and so a manufacturer says, okay, we've got to meet CAFE rules, and they're not. CAFE rules are not related to the Clean Air Act. That's smog, basically. But CAFE rules are something that came along afterwards. And anyway, so in 22 and 23, what Dodge did was says, you know what, can we do this? And where's the best place to apply it? So it's on an average, okay, for the entire fleet of automobiles. It does include trucks, but they're under a different set of standards. And that's why your Trackhawks and such got the, that's why they're still getting the Hellcat engines, because they don't fall under that same rule. But for your automobiles, passenger cars, 2-door or 4-door, either one, they said, you know what, if we tighten up here, we can hit the average for the whole thing. So we don't have to mess with the Scat Packs. We don't have to mess with the Hellcats. We can just do the 5.7s and the 3.6s, and the average, because they are of a much higher sale rate, that are units sold, the average will improve and meet CAFE standards. So they tightened it up, and they did it on the 5.7s and the 3.6s. So when you start to try to tune a 22 or 23, Dodge was kind. They were very kind. They got those fuel economy numbers, but they kept our horsepower and torque. And so if you can imagine this clamping down, getting rid of all of the unnecessary BS that you normally had to tune out of it. It's so tight right now that you're not going to get any better. The 6.4s have always been tightly tuned because they're squeaking everything. Hey, I'm going to give you a 6.4 liter motor that makes this much horsepower. Well, it's not that big of a cubic inch change. Okay, 345 to 392 is, it's less than 50 cubic inches. So, yes, displacement. There's no replacement, but they didn't make that much more horsepower than 345 when you scale it. Yeah, they are. They're snappier, they're more fun, the whole bit, and they'll smoke the tires and do things that 345 won't, with no doubt about that. But in order for them to get those numbers, they had to crank it down tight. So your scat packs and stuff like that, they're going to be in a stock configuration. Now, we're talking stock here. We're not talking modified. So let's get that clear right up here, right up front. Stock configuration, you're not going to get anything better than a stock tune. As a matter of fact, in some cases, you start messing with it and it'll get worse. And you probably already found that. You run it through the neural network trainer once, starts feeling, and you really don't notice any change until you start looking at the details, your trims and things like that. You see a slight change there. But if you run it through twice, then all of a sudden you start feeling different. You go, wait a minute, I had better performance when I was running it on the stock tune. And in most cases, you're probably right, because the neural network doesn't touch everything. It doesn't consider the algorithmic logic behind it because it can't. HP Tuners does not have access to it. They do not know what these brains in the back room dreamt up when they drew up the algorithm for this vehicle, for any vehicle. They have no way. It's secret information. It's like the most top secret stuff there is out there. You let that stuff out and everybody will do it. Okay, so that's why now you know the reason why, and now you know whether or not, and you can make the decision yourself. You want to try and tune it, go ahead. I mean, it's good practice, because when you do start making changes, you're going to have to know how to do all the things you've already been learning here. Okay, so that's my lecture for the day. In a few minutes, I'm going to punch out yet another video for today, and I'm going to explain a few things to a few folks who think they know what they're doing, but are pretty frickin' stupid. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, my friends. But I've heard some stuff said lately and critiques of mine. So we're going to go and we're going to take some of those critiques that I'm going to show you. Okay, so you all take care. Hey, like and subscribe if you get a chance. I would love to make some money off this thing sometime. It's been over a year, almost a year now since I started it. So, like, subscribe. Head over to the Facebook page, Short Shift Garage. You can go see. I don't do Instagram. Of course, I do it because it's tied to it, and I do have the accounts there, but I don't follow the social media. I guess I should. If I was a real content creator, I would, but I don't. So anyway, like, subscribe. Say hello to my neighbors for me. Thanks a lot. Bye.